Australian professional surfer competing in the World Surf League World Tour. He retired from the World Surf League in 2017 after 13 seasons, including 3 career victories and 3 years where he was ranked in the top 5. He plans to be the lead coach for Australia's elite surf team program in preparation for the 2020 Summer Olympics in Tokyo, Japan. So give it up for Bede Durbidge as well.
The weights on the fin, I'm surprised how much flex you saw. Did you see any difference between futures and FCS as far as pretty much the same?
The only difference is you get difference in the cracking in the glassing.
So it's more of a glassing thing than it was actually the way.
Yeah, because both fins behave the same. Both fins actually have different stiffnesses even if you make them out of the same material. Because we can do 3D printing, I can make a futures fin and an FCS2 fin out of the exact same material, but because they have a different contact area to the board, the surfer will experience a different stiffness. But when they actually bend, they all bend.
So it's the same.
That's the same. I was thinking the same thing. I was glad you asked that.
I have a question myself as well. How do the athletes, how do they proceed with their equipment? Aside, of course, trial and error, is there any other way they use your equipment?
And this other people, like when you watch them on the wave and their feedback, and I think from that, yeah, as humans do, if you see someone do really well, you're curious and pick up their board, have a walk, and yeah, it's just learn and then feedback with your shaper, and yeah, it's kind of just endless, like, just never stops. Yeah.
The advantage we have with surfboards is the development process for the say retooling is a lot cheaper, a lot lower in cost when you compare in terms of, say, Formula One or America's Cup yacht racing. I mean, there's a significant amount of investment in that. With surfboards, you can go and you can retool just like that, and so the process is you can cycle through the process much quicker. So yeah, it's trial and error, but it's fast. Yes, it's fast. It's rapid. Right. That's the advantage we have.
Okay, question. Talked about stall out. What exactly does that translate to, say, on a wave? Is that would be like just losing your fins, like sliding out, or would that be just losing speed, or
kind of a steep loss of grip? So you can imagine you are like going into your curve, and at some point you just slip out.
Okay, so it's literally just sliding.
It happens in the lanes. It's a known phenomenon in aerodynamics. It's something that you always try to control as much as possible. Some like fields can even be beneficial, but in general, it's something that it happens so abruptly that you would like to avoid it as much as possible.
So I guess without a stall out, you just got a fin that holds really well.
Or at least you will have a more gradual performance, so you will not feel that sudden steep loss of control. I guess I
think that's, yeah, I think it would translate to, well, and I don't know, the way, and y'all have to understand too, I don't even want to try to shortboard. I think I'll die if I do, but it seems like it's like potholes or something, you know, and you saw it wasn't just like, you know, the control fin just dropped and went down. It went like that and went down. And so, you know, you've got that compared to just a more smooth, transition. They're all going to stall. It's just how they do that and how smooth that stall is, and how the surfer, you know, if he has less, you know, back and forth to, you know, react to, it's just going to allow him to just, you know, power into that turn more and get ready for the next maneuver.
Question. So you've done testing before, field work with. I've done field work with you with Sergio and Tawa, and you got data from Jordy Smith, right? Are you going to do more in the future? Are you going to like have any more field work with your whale fins? And could people like beat Durbidge, maybe use surf fins to practice in other environments?
If you ask.
This is the door.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just like I forgot to bring the whales. I left it at home, but yeah, and I mean, there's it's just like with the the rapid prototyping that Eric was mentioning, and me mentioning just that cycling. I think that's the same. I've already got different ideas for how can I do something different with a whale fin. So yeah, I mean there's infinite testing that you can do, which is I think now that we've shown that the CFD can really tell you what can happen in the field. We've got a good idea of that. Then you could do a lot more R&D just with the CFD instead of having to go through that whole manufacturing process and trying to prototype them and all that. You can do a lot of that trial and error with the CFD with finite element analysis too that measures the forces. So your process is still going to be infinite, but you can use the CFD to narrow things down more.
So would you say then that CFD is more efficient than field work in that it's less biased and there's less, I guess, variability in the testing environment? I guess would it be more preferable compared to field work?
I think what it can do is help you narrow down. If you have 10 designs, you can pick one, and then you can go field test it to confirm. You still need to have that surfer's experience. You need to have some numbers from the field, and you need to have. And I think it's like that. Those three things you still need, but you can eliminate some things that don't work before you go testing.
So you don't have to print 500 fins. Maybe you can print five vessels instead of 500, but you test 500 CFD. We have the same process in cycling. So we start with a lot of simulations, then we narrow down to a few internal tests, and then we go down to even less track tests. It's the more the environment is fixed, like CFD for instance, the more you can control details. Then of course when you go into something more complex like field testing, then you have a lot of other things coming into play. And if you manage to pick the right designs there, then you can really see differences like data.
Thank you.
To give your take on extended reality, CFD, and trying to use extended reality or CFD to try and create a wave profile, and board profile as to fins, and using the extended reality set to try and train as well.
Possible. I think that what I wanted to show today was more the ingredients, but the recipe, like we do in cycling for instance, the recipe has to come with an interaction between the shapers, athletes, coaches, and what we are able to provide. So my point today was to be ingredients, not the recipe. The recipe has to come interaction between everyone. And that's very easy to say, very difficult to do in my experience, but it is possible. It requires effort, it requires breaking some communication barriers, and it requires athletes that are able to be involved in that process. For instance, in cycling, we're working now with an Australian cyclist, Ron Dennis. He's a very tough guy, but he feels everything. And he's genuinely interested in technology, so he studies, he's always there on the ball when we are talking about technology. And you need those people to interact with. If I keep doing everything by myself in my computer in the lab, I'm completely missing that part. So there is need for interaction in order to have
So with surfing, you can couple that with a wave pool. Luca simulates the wave pool, makes suggestions for a board. Eric can make a board, you can make fins, put surfers in there that can give really good feedback, and then the loop keeps optimizing until you can develop a possible personalized solution for a particular surfer on that wave. That should give you a good training point for improving performance, in particular if you couple it to data, so that you can train the surfer to do particular turns that judges like. Right? Because just because you're doing the most powerful turn on the wave, that might not be what the judge is looking for. It depends on speed, power, and flow. And that's if you can capture that and simulate it, keep that performance loop talking to each other, you can possibly train surfers and shapers to optimize it.
Yeah, I was wondering, do you guys see this type of technology possibly changing the type of surfboards that we're riding to go more towards something that's like a snowboard or a wakeboard, as far as being able to figure out the bottom contours and the rocker and changing what's obviously on a wave it's of consequence, you're going to need nose, but on flatter, more mellow waves, you don't necessarily need that nose. So do you see that impacting board shape?
I can see that possibly coming. That happened in other sports. I don't see why it should happen in surfing. So, and how will that happen? Again, there is the need for interaction between what we do, shapers, and surfers, which are the ultimate users. But I can see that. I can see maybe with wave pools having only one right wave, one left wave. I can even see asymmetrical board being back in fashion, for instance. I think there is room for big improvements there, because again, it's completely new, it's completely virgin. We're starting not from 0, but from 0.1. That's specifically not in board design. Eric showed that he has, for instance, an enormous experience. There is a lot that has been done. But applying certain typical engineering approaches is completely new.
We're optimizing shape, geometry with our current materials, and so when that changes, then that might dictate a change in geometry.
So by modifying bottom contours and going for like old school channels versus getting lift and
yeah, it could look really different based on the material response you get from the materials.
So, Dave, you're 13 years on tour, on average, per year, how many back and forth you have security under your feet? And what is that like? 110, 120?
Yeah, I was just saying to Eric, like, they're not that common. And I'd probably get 50 plus boards a year. And yeah, when you get a good one, you hold on to it and you just hope you don't break it. And you only pull it out for heats. Yeah, I don't know, it's a tough one. Like, it's really hard when you got judges judging, like you were saying. And like we've seen Kelly, look what he's done over the last 8 years, like riding smaller around nose. Judges don't like it, it goes back, and it's just like, there's so many different changes happening. But I think with the rules now, like there is a chance to fast track things. So just that controlled environment and build data fields in pools and in the fast tracks that you get. So I think it'll get really interesting over the next few years, but yeah, not that many. I remember, yeah, I had one board that I had for 3 years and I think got 2 wins and a bunch of finals, and it was just like the most magic.
So yeah, the definition changes for most magic, pre-magic. It's above the magic threshold, but it's like super magic.
Yeah, like my shaper thought it was. He was like, he said the blank was like a bit warped, and yeah, there was this, he didn't think it was going to be board, but right, it was board. He couldn't put his finger on it. So It's just Eric knows.
And that was my question, because I need to do solid. So what is it?
Yeah, with you, Eric, how much feedback do you get from your riders as far as any kind of number?
Some a lot, some not enough, some too much. I encourage feedback. So that's the thing. It's normally you don't get enough, but yeah. But I do normally get
Specifically on.
Yeah, it's important.
Do you
But
have a percentage of magic boards that your riders come back and say this is.
The word magic is used, I think, too liberally. I heard Sean Thompson say that he's had 5 magic boards in his whole life.
Okay.
So the thing is, I'm not going to get what we call magic, but I think we're talking about just that one. What Bede's talking about, you just can't be figuring out. It's this one actually produces. You feel confident, and that confidence brings a whole nother level of performance. So that's it. So that's what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to quantify.
Magicness.
But you spend a lot of time on Fins. Do you think the Fins is a right place to start?
It's a place to start. Because in terms of manufacturing, it's what Eric is saying as well. The lead time for sort of juicing those really fast. We make them in a day, we can make changes in a day.
And you put them in, take them out, go back out. Like this,
And I'm trying to get a shaping bay going at the university that I'm not convinced. Plus, I don't want to shape those.
Yeah.
But I think if you can connect those, then I think go fast. That was our starting point, and we're now expanding.
Yeah, I think it would be neat to have board fin combos, put them in his barrel. Yeah, I think this one's going to be a good barrel way. Well, we can put it in there and see, and then compare it to a different board fin combo, and just see what's happening. Yeah.
I do think you need to see fins and boards as one. At least that's what I think. But I don't know what you guys think. A board can be magic, but if you put the wrong fins in it, it's not going to work.
It's huge.
I have a question. Have you started training those surfers for the 2020 Olympics, or are you doing that, or you are? Cool. How's that going?
Good. Yeah, Vince. And Jason used to work together. But it's going well. It's ticking along slowly. But we don't know which boys are going. We'll find out after the White Masters. It's 12 days. So, Well, we're heading into that world now, like surfing the Olympics. And everyone wants to have the edge. It's a good time. Sport.
See how the waves are going to be in the Olympics.
Things might come in really handy.
Was a question? You had a question before.
Yes, so out of the 3 doctors, does any of you have a degree in fluid dynamics?
Yes.
You, so
My undergraduate's aerospace engineering, so that I got that when they barely had any fluid dynamics.
My degree is specifically in aerospace engineering with aerodynamics, and my PhD is in sports aerodynamics. Fluid dynamics.
Okay, but not specific.
I've been working for the past 12 years with the offshore wind energy industry. So they work with aerodynamics mostly for the past 12 years. Besides all my sports research, I work a lot with floating wind turbines, wave-sitting wind turbines, different modelings of different, not only CFD, but aerodynamics. That's where my idea actually came from. I was at a very boring meeting and I said, I can simulate surf direction. The same tool I'm using to simulate the wind turbine.
So I got another question. The wave models that you showed us, are you going to make those available to companies? Like how do you see that?
It's complicated to have that available to companies to the model itself, but it's possible for companies to use the model to test the models. But until now,
that's my question. So that model is available for some to use as?
Yeah, I would love that.
Okay.
I would love it. So now I've been working a little bit with an Australian company called Circle Warehouse, with a small Italian company. But I would love to see big companies or even like big shippers like Herrick being more involved into that. Again, it's need for everyone, so it would be fantastic. And also at this specific stage, I think it's more on a. I don't see that as a business for me, but it's more, I'm generally interested in it.
And the third one is the use of processing power data is virtually free. How's that?
It takes about, to do that simulation, it takes about 6 hours on a 64 cores machine, so it's not that bad.
Okay,
and now,
so there is a cost.
Yeah, there is a cost. Yeah, there is a cost. Electricity cost. There is a cost of me being there and doing work.
You said free, so.
No, well,
in the past, and it cost.
I guess it depends what we're talking about. But in terms of, if there has to be a win-win, so there has to be a learning process for me, a learning process for the industry, and there can be a common visibility out of it. But of course, at some point, it might become a tool that people would like to rent in order to improve their boards. But at this stage, at least it's my person, but I'm talking also as a surfing engineering association, we are open to collaborate to a certain extent, of course, meaning that I cannot waste.
In terms of rough setup, I know I do some modifications on Pro Kiteboard's oil, and he has me actually rough it up. We started off and we had the higher grids that we were going through. We were initially going into like 2000 grid, but we actually dumbed that down and we just stuck with like lower grids. He loved it. That was his magic. His magic number was that point. And I was wondering if that's been tried in your guys' simulations or out on the board, the difference in the roughness on the bottom side or just the overall board, like a peel.
We've done it with fins. So the first time we were producing fins, they all had a certain roughness that comes with going between print fins. Every surfer I showed that fin to, where they have a surface roughness on it, they would feel it and go, oh, I don't really want to surf like that. So we had to optimize and change it to smooth. But one of our guys looked at the CFD, but not as sophisticated as Luca did. He said the surface roughness that we had on our fins didn't have much of a difference, but Luca might have a different.
Board-wise, no, but I've seen a video from, actually yesterday we were surfing in Thailand, or was it Chile? Yeah. So I've seen a video of him where he's using a board that has some sort of strange structures under the board. I didn't manage to ask him if he wanted me to run a simulation on that type of structure under the board, but I might have. I was too busy surfing. Or watching him surfing. But it's doable. I haven't done it yet. And that's what we've done in cycling. So we're very curious to see what's happening and what can generate.
Yeah.
I think
I got a question. This might be a good closure question too. You guys formed this little association, the Surf Engineers Association. Vince kind of touched on it a little bit, but like, what is your guys' vision for the SEA? And I guess were you saying like a 10-year plan or something? What would you like to see? What you guys are doing today? What would be your dream?
you start.
Yeah, I mean, I had some things like at the very beginning that I mentioned, just maybe developing some standards. I was just sitting here thinking about Eric's comment about the feedback that he gets, and then Marc did that in his field research. Maybe we could come up with a form so that had just the right amount of questions for Eric every time, and so he could just give that to his writers, and maybe we could help him, develop some kind of form so he could get the feedback that he needs from every single surfer. Not too much, not too little.
Common
common language.
And so different standards. Maybe just seeing if there is a different way to put a number to different types of surfboard fins. You know, I need one that's going to be more maneuverable. I need one for sunset conditions. What would that be compared to I need it just to survive this barrel? You know what? So things like that. Yeah, and equipment standards, testing standards. You know, if other people want to do research. Do you have this involved? Do you have that involved? Do you have the three things that we mentioned about doing CFD, getting some numbers off the board and getting feedback from the surfer, and just helping people have a higher standard and get better results that way.
My side, yes, everything that they've said. Like, my hope is that this could be kind of an annual thing, so that next year is going to be more people, then more and more people involved. So as an association, it would be great to kind of gather the attention of the surfing community towards that bit of technology, which is still kind of important because without it, you can't surf. And grow, like, kind of gaining this traction and momentum, and people getting more involved in what is really happening there. So also using maybe this as a starting point and build almost a community around technology in surfing. So that would be a great goal to see this room being, in the next coming years, not enough in order to host the amount of people who are will be interested in speaking and listening.
So everything what they have said, but then plus also I would really like to help shapers and pro surfers and even normal surfers put numbers on their experience so that they can improve what they're doing and have a way of measuring it. That would be so connecting up what we feel in the lab, what we can measure in the lab, with what really happens in the field. That's something where there needs to become a connection, because the way I look at it, what I measure in the lab is almost like when you buy a car, it will go 0 to 60 at this time and consume this much petrol or diesel, but it doesn't really tell you how it's going to perform on the track. Right? Be it an area can tell people how a car will perform on the track, I can put the numbers in. But it would really be to make that link between what you measure and what you feel, and then use that to then improve performance so that you can help athletes and shapers build better products. That's what
Alright. Group photo? Y'all want to come up here for our first symposium? Group photo?